Hi everyone, welcome to the latest instalment from Match Fishing Media. My name is Tyrone Hull. We're here today at Royal Berkshire Fishery. I'm going to take you through some tips and tactics that I use to win the latest Winter League here. So sit back and enjoy. Okay, so bait wise, firstly ground bait, dynamite, sweet fish meal. Fish meal is important, probably not too strong a fish meal in this particular ground bait, but it is important in the winter because these fish are used to eating fish meal. Maggots, 2 to 3 pints, depending on how well you think it's going to fish. Just a handful of soft pellets in 2s and 4s. Micro pellets, pre-soaked the night before so they're nice and soft. And that's about it, nice and simple. Okay, so rig wise, I'll set up about 4 rigs, in most cases 3 rigs. I like to keep things really simple. If I've got an island in front of me, what I will do, I'll plumb up to the island, say about a foot off the island, and there I'll fish soft pellets and micros. And then I'll have a ground bait line at about 13 metres, either to my left or to my right. In some cases I'll have a short line with maggots, and then I'll have an edge line which I look to fish either from the start or closer to the end of the match. There are quite deep edges in this lake as well, so by feeding them, if the fish aren't there necessarily at the start of the match, they'll certainly be there towards the end of the match, and it's just a case of patience and perseverance, and they will come on. So down to the business end of the rig, we'll talk about hooks. I'm a big fan of the new Guru F1 pellet hooks, a nice fine wire hook in 16 and 18s. 08 bottoms, 4-inch hook lengths. In some cases I use a little number 10 shot on there just to really fine tune the rig so I can pick up bites really quickly. Up to the main line, 0.16 main line, nice and durable. Up to floats of ranging from 4x10 up to 4x16. It's been really windy and stormy this winter. Going up to the elastic, I'm a real big fan of the new 6-8 Matrix Slick. Really super soft and stretchy on the strike, but when the fish come close to the net, you've got loads of power there in reserve to get them under control nice and quickly. I can't stress enough how important it's been this winter to scale everything down for the F1s, because they're getting bigger, they're getting much more cute, much harder to catch, and I found scaling down has really worked. So on the pellet line, again, just keep things really simple. So it's 2mm pellets, 4s and 2mm pellets on the hook that are expanded pellets. You want to be feeding little and often. You don't want to be feeding large quantities of bait at all in the winter. I think it has an adverse effect on the fish, and they tend to go rather than stay. So when you catch a fish, repeat the process basically. So up to sort of 12-15 micros in a little pot, 4 or 2mm soft pellet on the hook. Tap them in, follow the bait down. Make sure that you're using, say, a 4x14 float just to keep things nice and steady. And when you get a bite, just repeat the process. On your other line, your ground bait and your maggot line, you want to kick the session off with sort of a small ball of ground bait with some dead maggots or normal maggots in it. A double maggot on the hook, size 18 hook. And then you want to be feeding a few maggots through the pot as well over that line after every fish, just to keep them interested. Strung out shotting pattern, just hold on to the float nicely so it falls through the water. You generally get bites on the drop or as soon as the rig settles. On your shorter lines, you want to be fishing maggots out of your hands, so 6 meters or down the edge. You can fish a lot more aggressively on these lines. You can feed up to 20-30 maggots at a time, more regular. By doing this, you're attracting fish into your peg purely by the noise and the bait falling through the water. The fish are instinctive, they come in, they don't necessarily want to feed, but they're instinctive, and the more fish that come in, the more competitive they become, and this line can be a real banker in the last couple of hours of the match. So as I've already said, the Matrix Slick Elastic in 6-8 is something I definitely can't do without this winter. It's really soft and forgiving on the strike, but as you gain control of the fish under the top kit, it starts to power up nicely and you can net the fish really quickly. Onto the map, pole pots, they've been absolutely fantastic this winter, really light, They go through the centre of the pot and grip to the pole tip, the actual top kit tip, and they're really, really light. They don't bounce or judder around when you're shipping out. I often find with other pole pots on the market, they're quite top heavy. And they make the tip jig about. Lastly, I've just invested into new Reeve rollers, the mini rollers. They've proved absolutely fantastic this winter because when you're shipping out, you don't want the tip of your pole bouncing around as you're trying to ship out. They're super smooth, super stable, especially in windy conditions. They really grab onto the pole, stop it flying about. So they've been absolutely fantastic. So in the spring, it's a case of all your rigs and stuff like that, you want to upscale everything. So your hooks, you're going to be fishing heavier hooks, not your fine wire ones from the winter. You want to be fishing things like 012s and 040 in open water. Down your edge rigs, your hook lengths want to be up to 016, 018, just because the carp start to feed then and they'll take you into the snags and snap you. Your main lines, I tend to keep it around 016 still, but I will go up to 018 on my edge lines. All the floats are still the same, still fish 0.15 bristles, and elastics, I upscale those as well. So I will go to something like a white hydro or a 13 Preston Hollow on my edge lines. On my short lines and things like that, I use that Nick Gilbert white, which is a bit softer than white hydro, and it stretches loads, but it does get the fish under control quite quickly as well under the pole tip. With regards to bait, it's just a case of feeding a lot more aggressively. So it's time to pick the catapult up and probably put the pole pots away unless you're fishing down the edge with bigger pole pots. You'd probably not fish ground bait so much, but maybe down the edge for the carp. You'd be fishing micros, but you'd be feeding more aggressively. You'd be fishing hard pellets, things like 4s and 6 mils. You might even fish 8 mils up to the island to try and catch the carp. You'll be picking up shallow rigs and things like that. You'll be slapping 6 mil pellets, you'll be feeding aggressively, 6 mil pellet over the top, trying to make lots of noise on the surface to catch the big F1s. So it really, really favours the busier angler as well in the spring because you're feeding, you're in and out all the time, you're trying to keep busy, you're rotating lines, try and keep fish coming. So anyone new getting into the sport, my advice, it's a great sport to get into. It's the community of anglers and stuff like that is absolutely fantastic, but it can kick you in the teeth a few times as well. You've really got to persevere and just take each match as a real learning curve. So if you don't do particularly well to start with, really, really important to ask plenty of questions, approach really good anglers that are doing well, ask loads and loads of questions, just try and soak up as much information like a sponge. So what's important to remember is we're all human at the end of the day, and you've got to be humble, you've got to accept that we all get beaten. I think part of getting beaten is a real learning curve as well, and I can't stress enough how important it is to try and find out at the end of the match whoever's done really well, how they've done it, how they've gone about doing it, and we can all store that information and use it in the next match to get an even better result. Okay, thanks everyone for watching this short video. I hope you're able to take some tricks and tips away to help your fishing in the winter and the spring. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Match Fishing Media, and stay tuned for the next instalment coming soon. Tight lines!